He's stretching my screen time right now. He's setting to no approve for Snapchat.
My screen time is bad. She probably looks like that.
18 hours on TikTok. On Facebook.
18 hours and 47.
I have 3 hours in school.
That's from yesterday to today.
21 hours on Saturday, Sunday. No, that was on Sunday, so Saturday night. Most of ours is Sunday.
Judges, you know.
97 pickups.
Yeah, I did.
Why are you picking up your phone so much while you're at school?
I don't do that. It's how on in my bag.
My dad knows my phone because most of the time I'm texting her, I don't want to be here. Well, it's funny.
So we might have to turn downtime on.
Hey, I've already got a copy.
I haven't gotten caught.
As long as you haven't gotten a copy.
As long as I'm caught, I should make it.
No, it was first period, and I forgot to turn my phone on, and my alarm went off because apparently I set it off. And so Miss Music's now. Yeah, basically, she was she dress code.
Miss
Dude, she said my shoulders were distracting.
Miss I don't know that she's like
I heard Miss Smith. So, and I think that you guys
like his voice drops.
yeah. You're on the right track. That was it.
Yeah, and then technically tells me I'm wrong. We're so bad.
It's not as bad. My dad's
They're on there pretty much. They're on
24/7. My dad was looking at something.
Sorry, Melinda lost the walk. Best whenever I get home.
No, I didn't do my dad's phone.
Great, now we're on. You have to say something. You have to say something.
I know I'm short. Can you guys see me? I'll try. Hi, guys. I'm Mrs. Weekland. I'm one of the high school counselors here. Tiffany Rittenauer is here somewhere. Tiffany, where'd you go? There she is. Tiffany works with our 9th and 10th graders, and I work with 11th and 12th graders. We're so happy you're here tonight. We have representatives from the University of Akron and Kent State University. Our Stark State representative couldn't make it, but we'll do our best to fill you in on anything that's particular with Stark State. At the end of the presentation, we'll have a Q&A. I'll have a microphone I can walk around with, and I'll put you on the spot. You can ask questions. I've been a counselor for a long time. This is year 33 for me, and I've been doing CCP for probably not as long as Greg, but since, like 2010 maybe, I've been doing CCP. So I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, so hopefully I have some valuable information I can share with you too. But I want to respect your time, and I'm going to introduce Greg Dieringer from University of Akron to get us started. Thank you.
Yeah, so Mrs. Weekland just meant that, yeah, we're both really old because we've worked with these programs for so long. So I've actually, so CCP was adopted by the state of Ohio in 2015. I worked with the former program called Post-Secondary Enrollment Options since 1999. So it's now embarking on 26 years of working with our dual enrollment programs. So here's what we're going to do this evening. I'm going to begin with covering all of the general information provided by the state of Ohio. The state of Ohio mandates that we use the common information when we're doing these presentations. So that'll be the bulk of the presentation. And then I'm going to finish up with information specifically for the University of Akron. And then I'm going to pass it off to Heather to talk about the information specifically for Kent State University. So bear with me here. I'm going to fly through some of these slides just because there's no way that you're going to be able to memorize all of this from this evening, but we'll give you kind of the important stuff to kind of highlight as I go through to say, hey, here's some really important things that you absolutely need to make sure that you take away from the program this evening. So good starting point is, okay, what is College Credit Plus? So as I mentioned, this was adopted by the state of Ohio back in 2015, so it officially kind of rolled in for that academic year in 2015-16. Prior to that, we called it Post-Secondary Enrollment Options. Same thing. So this is an Ohio program which allows students as early as grades 7 and 8 in middle school up through senior year in high school to take college classes, and they earn then at the same time both college credit because they're taking a college class, but then also it transfers back to the school district and also applies as high school credit. So that's why it's oftentimes referred to as a dual credit program, because students are concurrently receiving the college and the high school credit at the same time. Now notice I said high school credit, so even a middle schooler, if they meet eligibility to participate in the program, are receiving high school credit for those classes that they're taking. A big advantage of the program is that your tuition and fees for those college classes are paid for through state funding, as well as textbooks are paid for by the school district. So in essence, you can think of the College Credit Plus program as really almost like a scholarship opportunity, because the students are going to have the option to get those college credits before they've even graduated from high school that they can then carry with them and use towards their future academic goals of pursuing college after high school. So tremendous advantages of participating. So there is that financial advantage, obviously. From an academic perspective, probably the most important thing is that opportunity to earn some college credits before you graduate from high school is minimally going to help you to stay on track towards a future college degree, if not even accelerate it. And I'll give you an example. We see more and more each year at all of our institutions, students that actually have enough credits to earn an associate's degree at the same time as they're graduating from high school. An associate's degree is a minimum of 60 total credits. We've also seen in the history of the program, at least at Akron, we've now had 3 students that have earned a bachelor's degree at the same time as they graduated from high school. That is not normal. Most students are only earning at the same time as they're graduating from high school about 18 total college credits, which is realistically the equivalent of a little bit more than 1 full college semester. So those students that are earning associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees, they were very focused. They knew immediately when they were starting in the program that that's what they wanted to do. So our students that got the bachelor's degrees, they started as a high school freshman and pretty much were full-time college students throughout all 4 years of their high school career, taking classes through CCP. So it really just depends on the student, how early they start, and what their ultimate academic goals are later on down the road. So tuition fees, textbooks, as I mentioned, paid for through students participating in the program. One of the few expenses that is never covered by CCP is parking. So if a student is physically going to a college campus, that does have a parking fee. So I know the Akron campus for University of Akron does charge for parking. Kent State main campus also charges for parking. Unfortunately, that would be the student and their family's responsibility to pay for any parking expenses. So that is something to keep in mind if your student is physically going to a college campus to take their classes. All right, here's one of the important things you have to remember from this evening. So in order to participate in CCP, each year the student must submit to the school, so that's to Springfield schools, what is called an intent to participate form. So Mrs. Weekland has those in the materials. Yes, Mrs. Weekland, what was it? You have that in your materials. So that form, if you're, and this is just indicating that you're interested in College Credit Plus. It does not commit or obligate you that you're going to have to do this next school year, but it does show to the district that there is an interest in participating, and if that form is unfortunately not on file, the school district can decline allowing the student to participate. So by April 1st, if a student turns in their intent form, that is for the entire next year. So for CCP participation, the funding year includes summer classes, followed then by the fall semester, which is the first half of the school year, and then finishing with the spring semester, which is the second half of the year. So if you submit that intent form to the school district by April 1, it's for the entire academic year. Brand new, the state of Ohio now has actually instituted a second intent to participate deadline of November 1st. So if a student, for whatever reason, misses that April 1st intent deadline, they still have the opportunity to submit an intent form to the school district by November 1st, and then that would allow participation for the spring semester from January to May only. So they now have 2 intent deadlines. Do yourself a favor. Again, even if you're just interested, not fully sure, get that form turned in by April 1st, and that's going to cover all your bases for the entire upcoming academic year. So again, that's in your materials provided by Mrs. Weekland. Okay, so how can a student participate? So you got to get that intent form in, and then basically you can think of 3 then following steps that are required to participate. So the first one is eligibility. Second one is admission to the college or university that you're applying to. And lastly would be registration. So let's first talk about eligibility. So to qualify for eligibility, there are 2 different ways. The first way is by meeting a grade point average. The second way is by meeting some type of a standardized test score. So let's first talk about the grade point average. So based on the state rules, if a student applying for CCP has at least a 3.0 unweighted cumulative high school GPA, they automatically meet eligibility. Let me repeat the descriptors there though. It's a 3.0 unweighted cumulative GPA. So I'll describe what that means. An unweighted GPA means that's a GPA based on a 4.0 scale. So I know here at Springfield there are some weighted grades for either advanced placement or honors classes, which could be on either a 4.5 or a 5.0 scale. So the 3.0 is on a 4.0 scale. And then cumulative GPA means that's the student's grade point average from the start of any high school classes up to the point that they are applying. So it's their overall GPA. So for example, if you're a sophomore in high school and you're applying for CCP, your cumulative GPA is all the way back to your freshman year. So it's your freshman year up until this point. So that's a 3.0 GPA automatic qualification. In addition to that, the state says, you know what, we'll also allow students to be considered, let's say they don't have a 3.0, but they do have at least a 2.75 cumulative unweighted high school GPA. That will then go to the college or university, and the law stipulates that if students have A's or B's in relevant courses, they could possibly also meet eligibility solely just based on the grade point average. Each college or university will evaluate that grade point average differently. So when a student applies, that university that they're applying to will take a look. If the student doesn't have the 3.0 but has at least the 2.75, they'll look at that student individually. So those are your 2 ways to qualify by GPA. Now notice one of the descriptors is a high school GPA. So the only way that a middle school student could qualify based on GPA is if they have already taken a class for high school credit, which is in essence established a high school GPA. So again, that would depend on the college or university, what credentials they're going to be looking for to make that determination. Okay? So in some cases, a middle schooler may or may not actually then have high school grades that can be used for evaluation. So the second way then that a student can qualify is based on a standardized test score. So the state of Ohio has a variety of tests that they say can be used to also determine eligibility. Each college or university will let you know what those tests are. Now, all colleges and universities for sure will accept the ACT or the SAT test, In addition to that, though, they may use additional assessments, which can also be used for placement testing at that institution. So for example, several high schools, I know Kent State does, as well as Stark State, will allow the use of the AccuPlacer, which is a placement examination, to be used for consideration. At the University of Akron, we will only allow the ACT or SAT test to be used for evaluation. So each college or university will tell you which of the standardized tests that they can use for eligibility if the student doesn't have the qualifying grade point average. Okay, so everybody clear on that? So your two ways are either a qualifying high school GPA or a qualifying standardized test score. Okay? Once it's determined that the student is going to meet eligibility, the second step in the process is to apply to the college or university that they will be taking classes through. Students can apply to more than one college or university to take their CCP classes. For example, here at Springfield High School, classes are actually offered both through the University of Akron and through Kent State University. So students potentially could be taking classes through both of our universities. You have to apply then to both of our universities and be admitted. So a couple things with that application process. The way that students will apply is by completing an online application to each of our universities. When a student is applying, highlighted in yellow here, please make sure that your students are using a personal email address when they apply. I can't remember off the top of my head here at Springfield. Many high schools, if a student is emails from their school email address, they can't receive a return email if it's not from the school district. So because of that, we advise students to use a personal email address, and it should be the student's email address, not a parent or guardian's email. On all of our college applications, we will also request the parent email addresses on there, so the student is actually applying, creating their own application for that university, so it should be the student's email address. Now, we also recommend that when students are applying, I've seen over the years, parents and family members do their application for their students. I've seen applications that end up with mom or dad's name on the application because it auto-filled, or they were just on autopilot and typed their name applying to the university for their student. So at the very least, you should be sitting down together and completing these applications, if not even having your student solely complete the application, because they are applying to the college to take college classes. So this is the first step of kind of maturity and responsibility, is having the students do these things themselves, or again, at the very least, you sit down and do that together. In addition to completing that online application, another form that's going to be required by all universities is a state-required form called a permission slip. That's a form acknowledging, it requires a signature of both the student and a parent or guardian, indicating that the student is going to be taking college classes that potentially could have mature content in them. So it's a standard form required by all the universities, mandated by the state, and then you'll also want to verify if there are other forms that are required for that college or university that you're applying to, okay? Once the student's applied, it's cut and dry. The admissions office at those universities is going to evaluate the credentials. If the students meet eligibility, most likely they're going to meet admission to be accepted to that university to participate in CCP. After the student is admitted, they'll receive further instructions. Each college or university manages their programs differently, so students may be required to attend an orientation. I know at Kent State University, Heather will talk about this, they conduct an online orientation that students will participate in. So each university will kind of manage that process differently of how they're basically onboarded to that university so that they can be officially enrolled in their classes. So please pay attention to the communication that you're receiving from the universities. Another big thing that I stress is because students can be admitted based on their high school grade point average, that doesn't mean that the student can take any class that they would want to take at that university. The university may require additional placement testing in order to place into certain college level courses. So for example, at most of our universities take statistics or math courses. Oftentimes that will require some type of math placement testing to take those classes then. So always make sure that you're paying attention to the instructions from those schools, okay? So your 3 steps again are determining eligibility, applying to the university, and then lastly, registering for classes. Once you've gotten through those processes, what classes can you take? So the state has a couple rules limiting what students can and cannot take. So based on this rule, we have what are called level 1 or allowable courses. So what does that mean? So what that means is within the first 15 college credits that a student takes, they're limited to some specific categories. So they can take classes in certain subject areas, which include anatomy and physiology, computer science and information technology, as well as any foreign languages, including sign language. So those can be taken by a brand new College Credit Plus student. And then in addition to that, students are also limited to what are called transferable courses. So what that means is, here in the state of Ohio, all of our state universities and community colleges have classes that are kind of flagged that are guaranteed to transfer to any of the state universities and community colleges in Ohio. So for example, the #1 enrolled course in CCP throughout, not only here at Springfield High School, but throughout the state of Ohio, is English. So if a student takes English through College Credit Plus, that's a guaranteed, what we call Ohio Transfer 36 class. So if you take it at Akron, it transfers to Kent State. If you take it at Kent State, it's going to transfer to Ohio State, vice versa. It's going to be transferable to any of those other state universities and community colleges here in Ohio. Once a student has completed 15 credits then in the CCP program, they are no longer limited to those specific subject areas or transferable courses, so they can then expand upon that and take additional courses outside of what the state refers to as level 1. Now, non-allowable courses. By non-allowable courses, the state will not pay for these subject areas at any time. So it doesn't matter how many credits a student has completed or not. The state will not pay for any privately instructed one-on-one courses. They will not pay for college courses that have high course fees. Unfortunately, that's due to Kent State. If you're not familiar, they have an aviation program at Kent State, which has thousands and thousands of dollars in course fees in order to go through that program. So I shouldn't say it's just Kent State. There's other universities that have courses with high course fees. Yeah. So there is a limitation, and sometimes because of that. Also, students cannot take study abroad courses, which means they would be going out of the country to take classes at a foreign college or university. Cannot take phys ed classes, pass-fail courses. You do have to be in a class that actually has a letter grade awarded. And no remedial courses. Those are courses oftentimes in math or writing that don't count for college credit. By nature of the program, students have to be accepted into a college level class that earns college credit. And then lastly, students cannot take religious courses. Now at the state universities and community colleges, we don't have religion courses. That would be more so at a private college or university that has a religious affiliation. So think of institutions like Malone or John Carroll University. They oftentimes will have religious courses offered at their institution, so those would be restricted in the program. Okay, so the college advisors at each of our universities will assist students with course selection so that they're kind of staying within these rules. And then here are some of the subject areas in which students take their CCP classes. These are some of the most commonly enrolled classes, so there's a lot of students taking government, psychology, sociology. English composition, as I said earlier, is the #1 enrolled subject area in CCP all throughout the state of Ohio. We also have students taking foreign languages, science classes, math classes. So there is a variety of courses and subject areas that students can take as they're participating in the program. If students do have a specific college major that they're considering, they can also begin in introductory courses oftentimes in a college major. Now, as long as it's a level 1 course, they could start with those right away. If it's not a level 1 course, again, once they have 15 credits completed in those other kind of core areas, they could also jump into major specific classes later on down the road too. Online courses, I added this slide myself just because of the nature of what we're seeing more and more with students participating in College Credit Plus, and this is a big change. Heather and I were talking about this earlier. So prior to the pandemic, pretty much the main methods of students taking classes were sometimes you have classes like you do here at Springfield where they're taught by your teachers right here at the school, but it's a college class, or you physically went to a college campus to take classes. Since the pandemic, most of the colleges, universities have expanded online course offerings. So because of that, more and more CCP students are preferring to take online classes because it doesn't have to conflict and they don't have to have transportation in order to get to a college campus to take their classes. Here is a caution. Online classes are a significant time commitment. And a good way to think of it is college classes are typically either 3 or 4 college credits. So what that means is if that class meets in person, A 3-credit-hour class would meet roughly for 3 hours per week. A 4-credit-hour class meets for 4 hours a week. Even when you're taking an online class, you still need to think of it in how much hours or how many hours you're going to need to contribute to that class. So minimally, a 3-credit-hour class is still going to be at least 3 hours of coursework per week. However, that's just really covering your lecture content for that class. That still doesn't include homework assignments, reading your textbook, doing quizzes and papers and any other activities that you have required for that class. So very quickly, a 3-credit-hour class online might be an additional 6 to 9 hours per week of coursework. That's in addition to all of your high school classes that you're still taking through the school. If you're a student athlete, all of your practices and your games that you've got to be attending, as well as any other extracurricular. So if a student is in band or choir, or maybe they have a part-time job, all of those things are going to be taking up the student's time over the course of each week. So you need to be very conscientious and make sure that you can manage your time effectively to keep up with the online classes. The other thing that's required is that if students need some assistance and clarification, they have to be responsible enough to reach out to the professors and ask for assistance, or reaching out to staff at each of our universities if they need some help. Where I've seen students really get into difficulty is they totally underestimate the time, and they don't reach out to us until it's way too far into the semester to be able to provide the assistance to turn things around to be able to salvage and pass a class. So online classes are great because of kind of the flexibility, but you really, really need to consider all of these commitments in order to be successful in those classes. Okay, credit limits. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. The big thing you need to know from this is that there is a maximum number of credits that a student can take in a given year when they participate in CCP. Again, the year of participation for CCP starts in the summer, followed then by the fall semester and the spring semester, and then it starts over again the following year also in the summer. So the maximum number of credits that a student can take each year and have them funded for CCP participation is 30. That 30 credit limit is not just their college credits, it also includes any high school credits. So the conversion in the middle of the slide is any one high school credit equals 3 college credits, or vice versa. Any college course that's 3 or more credits, when that transfers back to Springfield schools, it's going to fulfill 1 full high school credit. So we work very closely with your counselors here at the school to ensure that you're staying within this limit so that there's no issues with exceeding the credits. In the event that a student does exceed the 30 credit limit, they're either going to need to drop a college class to take them below the threshold, or if they have any flexibility to drop a high school class, in essence, that increases then the number of college credits that the student can take. So I'm going to skip that slide here and go on to the next. Your grades. Based on the state rules, when a student participates in College Credit Plus, if Springfield Schools has a weighted grade in the same subject area that the student is taking their CCP class, they also get a weighted grade when that CCP class is transferred to the school and put onto the high school transcript. So for example, I'm pretty confident here at Springfield, you do have advanced placement courses, correct, Mrs. Weekland? So that's on a weighted grading scale. So if you take English composition through CCP, it's going to be weighted the same as an advanced placement class here at the school. So in essence, the state wanted to create a level playing field so that if you're doing one or the other, you're going to get weighted grades. If you do AP, you're going to get weighted grades if you do CCP. Okay, some additional considerations here. This is a big one. I know at the university we are really trying to chase this down. So based on the state rules, if a male student is participating in CCP and they are 18, federal law in the U.S. requires that they register with Selective Service. And if you are attending a state university or community college, state law here in Ohio says you have to provide that Selective Service number to that university, or you're going to be assessed for all of your tuition and fees as well as an additional surcharge on top of that. So this is something that the state is really cracking down on now and has to be collected if a male student is participating in the program and they are 18. Some differences between high school and college, just quickly here. All of these are kind of related together, but cannot stress enough that when a student is taking a college class, you already heard me talk about the online classes and the time commitment. That's probably one of the biggest differences that students will see is they're probably going to need to spend more time outside of school working on their college classes. And there's going to be a greater expectation that they're learning the material themselves as opposed to someone lecturing to them and providing that information for their classes. There could be less frequent tests in a college class. It really just depends on the subject area and how the class is formatted. Definitely you can expect that there may be less graded assignments. In some of your classes here at the school, you might get homework, grades on all your homework assignments. That may or may not be the case in a college class. So each class is going to be managed a little bit differently on how grades are calculated and how that might look. For parents and family members, big shift here. Do you use Progress Book here at Springfield? Know what that is? Yes, okay. There is no such thing at the college level. So when a student is taking a college class, parents and family members do not have access to their students' classes, to the grades that they receive. So that information is shared only with the student themselves. So that's a big shift in responsibility there. So now students can potentially gain permission. There's usually a permission process that they're going to have to go through at each university, but that's a totally different setup than compared to what's available to you as parents of high school or middle school students. Another big difference is if a student is on an IEP or a 504 plan, that doesn't automatically carry over to the college or university that they're attending. So a student is going to need to register with the Disability Services Office at that university, and then they would assess if there are services or accommodations that the student is eligible for at that institution. Another slide here, really this just kind of highlights some of the things we've already talked about, that not only is it important that students are strong academically to meet those eligibility requirements, but also a student needs to be kind of emotionally immature to participate and take college classes. So those things in combination are very important to ensuring that students are going to be successful. Here's a couple more academic policies. So in the event that a student is not successful in their classes, a student can be placed on what's called academic probation. So if they fail classes or if they withdraw from classes, this is actually another financial responsibility. The state of Ohio stipulates that if a student does not successfully complete a class, their school district, so in this case Springfield Schools, could bill the student for that college class if they either fail it with a letter grade of F or if they withdraw from a class after the drop period. Here specifically is the probation requirements. So if a student is participating in College Credit Plus and they fall below a 2.0 cumulative GPA, they're eligible to be placed on probation. A College Credit Plus student on probation is still eligible to continue. However, in the next semester, they're limited to just one class, and that one class cannot be in the same subject area if they earned a grade of D or F in a class the prior semester. So the state's very strict with this. What they're trying to do is ensure that students are not digging themselves into a hole, because remember, you're getting dual credit. So not only are the poor grades going to be on a college transcript, they're also going to transfer back to the high school and be calculated into the high school GPA. Now here's the good news. So even though we have to cover this policy, overwhelmingly, I know in our program at Akron, I'm sure it's similar at Kent State, our students are usually maintaining about a 3.3 or B plus average in their college classes. So most students are doing well. I wish I could say no students do poorly, but it does happen on occasion, but typically students are doing pretty well. Continuing with the probation status though, if a CCP student the following semester does not improve their grade to a 2.0 or higher, unfortunately they are eligible to be dismissed or removed from the program. Okay, so if a student is underperforming, just know it is the start of the student's college transcript, so that could have an impact in the future. If a student is applying for selective programs or scholarships, could even potentially have an impact on financial aid. That's very rare, but it could be a possibility. And in the event that a student is struggling, each of the colleges and universities is going to provide some type of academic support services. So at all of our universities, students are eligible to take advantage of tutoring. They can interact with their professors, their advisors at our universities. We're always happy to help and assist the students so that they can do well. For our student athletes, just remember students do have to meet their eligibility requirements to participate in sports here at the school. That is going to be actually reviewed by Mrs. Weekland and the staff to ensure that students are meeting that eligibility. And then your options after high school. So typically at our colleges and universities, when a student participates in CCP, Once they're in the program, they don't have to reapply from semester to semester. I know at Kent State they have a continuation form that students fill out so that they can indicate that they're returning the following year. So you want to make sure that you're following the instructions at those institutions. Now, if a student is getting ready to graduate, though, typically at the colleges or universities, they are going to need to reapply at that point because they're changing their status from a CCP student to then a degree-seeking student at that college or university. Now, for other colleges, universities, very, very important. This is one I keep stressing to our students. Number one, you're going to need to send an official college transcript to those universities. I am seeing more and more universities are also requesting a copy of a course syllabus for the college class that the student took. So we recommend that students save all of their syllabi for any classes that they take through CCP. And then I'm going to finish up our general information here with talking about transfer of credits. I'm going to show you two different websites that you can use to check on transferability. The first website is transfercredit.ohio.gov. This is for the state universities and community colleges in Ohio only. So when you go to the website, there's a section where it'll say credit transfer tool, and then basically you can plug in, okay, I'm taking classes through Akron or Kent State or Stark State. My subject area is English or whatever it is, and you hit find matches. What that does is it takes you to this page which lists in alphabetical order all of the community colleges and state universities here in Ohio, and it'll show you course for course. So in this example, I expanded Bowling Green, listed Akron as the school and English as the subject area. So it'll show you then, okay, if you take English Composition 111 at Akron, here's the directly equivalent course at Bowling Green. So it's basically a tool you can use to check on the transfer of credits. So that, again, this is for state schools, community colleges in Ohio only. Another website that you can use is this one called Transferology. This one is much, much more expansive. This includes out-of-state schools, private schools, so it's not just for the state of Ohio. Big difference with this website is you first have to go to the website and enter and create an account. Once you've created your account, it operates in exactly the same way. I skipped the search steps here, but what this is showing is the results page. So I plugged in, okay, I'm attending Akron over on the left, looking to go to John Carroll University. So this is showing you the equivalent English courses between our two institutions. So these are websites you can use to check on those courses. Now, in addition to this, I always advise students and families, even though you can use these websites, you still need to contact any colleges or universities that you're considering to confirm what their policies are. Because just because you see equivalent courses on here does not mean that that college or university will accept all of those courses. And I can give you two examples here in the state of Ohio. The College of Worcester, right in central Ohio, they have a policy. If a student takes CCP courses instructed at their school, which you have here at Springfield, they will not award any credit for those classes. Case Western Reserve up in Cleveland pretty much takes no CCP courses. So even though you could see equivalent courses on this website, they have policies that will restrict and limit what they will and will not take. So always contact any schools that you're considering to confirm what their policies are, okay? So that's it for the general information. I'm going to switch directions here and talk about Akron, and then I'll pass it off to Heather to talk about Kent. So just real quickly here, options for your classes here at Springfield. The majority of Springfield classes are either going to take classes physically on the Akron campus, online, or here at the high school through either what's called your distance learning classroom or classes instructed by your teachers. Let me first talk about distance learning. So you are lucky here at Springfield because you have, on the other side of the building here, a classroom that is dedicated just for what we call distance learning classes. So a distance learning class is one that is instructed through the University of Akron, and then live and in real time, it is connected to your classroom here at the school, and it is fully interactive. So students actually, in your classroom, you have microphones and cameras, so if you want to communicate to the class going on our campus, it'll pick you up and you can be able to see and hear each other and communicate that way. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds because you don't have to leave the confines of the school, but the class is physically right here in the building. Here are those course offerings that we have physically here at Springfield High School. So the top classes are the distance learning classes instructed and connected to the distance learning classroom. The bottom classes that say on-site are classes instructed by your teachers here at the school. So you can see there's a variety of different courses that can be taken physically here at the school. So if you're interested in these, as you're communicating with your counselors here at the school, Mrs. Weekland, are you kind of getting started with the registration process right now? So as you're meeting with your counselors, just communicate that you're interested in CCP, and that'll kind of kick off the process that your counselors are aware that you're going to be pursuing this, and then these could potentially be some of the options that you can do physically right here at the school. Okay. Admissions requirements. Guess what? If you meet all the eligibility requirements I described at the beginning of the presentation, you qualify for admission and eligibility to our program at the University of Akron. To apply, it's pretty much the process I described earlier as well. So you're going to complete an online application. Remember to use that personal email address. You're also going to need to submit your school transcripts, that permission slip that I mentioned earlier, which is the state required form, and then unique to the University of Akron, we have an additional form called a signature page. It's similar to the permission slip, but it highlights some other important information about potential financial responsibility and sharing of records. So that form requires a student, parent, or guardian, and a school counselor signature. So it is different from the permission slip. And our application deadlines at Akron are April 15th for the summer and fall semesters, and then October 15th if a student would apply midway through the year. Just again, remember, you have to turn in those intent forms to the school in order to apply to not only Akron, but any of the universities. Mrs. Weekland can share test information there. Real quick, placement testing, I mentioned this earlier too. If a student applies to the University of Akron and they meet eligibility based on their grade point average, you still may need to then do placement testing through the university for English courses, social studies courses, and for math and statistics courses. So you would receive information about that. And then we do require our students to participate in orientation. So that's the other thing. After a student is admitted, you'll receive the instructions on attending that orientation with us through the university. And then contacts here. I always joke, I don't know if this makes it easier or more confusing. Both of us affiliated with the program are named Greg. So I'm Greg Deringer, the director of the program at the bottom. And then Mr. Greg Landis in the Office of Admissions is your starting contact. So when you're applying to CCP, he's the person that reviews the applications and helps you through that application process. Once you're admitted, the admissions office is going to hand you off to myself and our team, and then we will be assisting you with orientation and class registration moving forward. So I think, next steps here, just remember, talk with your school counselors and discuss scheduling graduation requirements. And then you're going to contact the colleges if you have questions about admissions requirements. Remember those intent to participate deadlines, apply for admission, and then you also get instructions about any placement testing and orientation required at those universities. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to pull up our presentation for Kent State. So Heather, you can either use the direction arrows on there or this.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. What did I do? What happened? Oh, there we go. Making sure everybody's awake in the audience. Hi, my name is Heather Eves. I'm here tonight from Kent State. I am going to talk about all of our College Credit Plus opportunities. I am sure that you want another lengthy presentation, right? Because that's exactly what everyone wants. Greg and I were joking beforehand that there's a lot of slides for us to get through too. So I will try to make this as quick and painless as possible. Kent State does have a lot to offer students. We do have students, just like Greg said, who come both to any of our campuses around the area, as well as take online classes with us. So as I just mentioned, we do have approximately 11 campuses to choose from, and you will have choices at all of these campuses, both online and in-person classes, should you want them. So the first step for Kent State, as well as all the other institutions, is to complete that intent to participate form. This is for all of our students, and as Greg mentioned, this is due on April 1st to your guidance counselors. For us, step 2 is if you are a new student or a returning student. So if you are a new student in step 2, you're going to complete that online CCP application. This is going to be super simple because our deadlines match right up with Akron's. Our summer and fall deadline is also April 15th, and our spring deadline is also October 15th. You're going to want to complete that CCP permission form, as well as submit your an official copy of your high school transcript. Your high school guidance counselors can help you with that. And we do want to make sure that you are college ready. So a qualifying unweighted high school GPA of the 3.0, an unweighted high school GPA of at least a 2.75, but less than a 3.0 as long as you've received an A or a B in a relevant high school course, or we'll take a qualifying ACT or AccuPlacer score. So again, very similar to those original requirements that were outlined earlier. For returning students, you do not need to reapply. You'll just complete a returning student continuation form. All right, and on that form, we have 3 questions for you. So are you still a student at the school that you attended last year? Is your expected graduation date still the same? We do need to know if that's moving. And will you be continuing in the CCP program, and during which terms? All right, if you are a new student, we are going to have you complete your required online orientation. This takes place through Canvas, which is our online classroom platform, and you will get a login for that through your Flashline account whenever you are accepted to Kent State. Next up is every student every semester is required to meet with our CCP advisor. I do advising as well as a whole team of folks at Kent State. And we go through kind of a couple different things. We make sure that we're discussing your goals, what you're hoping to get out of this class. And sometimes those goals differ for high school students. Sometimes they're looking to take a course that's going to help them in their major when they come to college. And sometimes they're just looking to fulfill a high school requirement. And so we can talk you through what both of those options look like. And then we're also going to make sure that you know how to schedule your courses and which courses to schedule and when is also important. We do have a couple other opportunities at Kent State. We have a professor, Dr. Robin Selinger, who's worked really hard to develop a science experience internship for our students. We have had students get to go to conferences, get published with their faculty while they're still in high school. So that's a really cool thing that's been developed. Our students who are taking over 6 credits do get access to the Student Rec and Wellness Center on the Kent campus, and they can also access student organizations and club teams. We do offer a Choose Ohio First scholarship at the Kent campus, the Stark campus, and the Tuscarawas campus for students who are looking to come and be a college student after you graduate from high school in a STEM major. So this looks at a lot of different opportunities for students, offering them tuition assistance, financial tuition assistance, different mentoring experiences through research opportunities. We offer internships with industry partners, career prep, and seminars in those workshops. So Choose Ohio First is a big opportunity for our STEM students, certainly. All right, and that is it for me. So what questions do you all have? I believe that one of the counselors had said she was going to come around with a microphone, perhaps. I don't know, Greg, if you want to come back up and we can just kind of tag team.
Does anybody have a question?
Are you all ready to go to bed at this point?
I had these forms out front if you want to grab them real quick. So there's only one intent to participate form, period. Like, it doesn't differ with the university. So I have a little Spartan head up in the corner there on the front. And as you can see, it has 2 different dates. It's going to be April 1st or November 1st, like Greg was saying. Another requirement with CCP, if you flip it over, is what they call required counseling. You being here is required counseling. Did you know that? It's CCP counseling, not therapy. So we charge extra for that. If a person is not here, up there we have Mr. Chenoweth and his trustee assistant recording this on YouTube right now. So for people that couldn't come tonight, I'll be sharing the link with them. They should watch this video as well so they can hear all this fun stuff. And then they will sign this as well saying that they received counseling. So being here in person versus watching the video, but that's the form on the back. So these are both required for CCP, no matter what school you attend, as far as college, I mean. And then the other paper, I stole from a neighboring school district and I tweaked it to match ours. Up in the top right-hand corner is a Google Classroom code. Every year I create a CCP Google Classroom with lots of information, all the forms that they need. Even though you got these papers, I also have these on there. So if a student is interested and they qualify, they would put that, these kids know how to do Google Classroom. They'll get into Google Classroom and they'll see everything under classwork. And then I use that same Google Classroom throughout the school year. When the student schedules with their advisor, they put their schedule there in the fall and in the spring. And if we're going to have a CCP meeting, I put that information in there. So it's our way to communicate back and forth once they're in. I do have to weed out some of the students in the Google Classroom once school starts, because it's like they thought they were going to do CCP, they changed their mind, or they didn't qualify with their test scores and stuff like that. So, any questions? Yes.
Here Burns, 2 students, UCP candidates. My question is for the female representative. All right, it's for the female representative. You say you have 5 or 6 colleges. So if I apply to one that's in Akron, would the credit still count if I decide to go to a Cleveland school?
So our courses at Kent State would transfer very similarly to what Greg had outlined earlier. If you're staying within the state system, so if you're looking at doing University of Akron to Kent State to Cleveland State, you take college writing 101, it's going to be college writing, it's going to be that first college composition class at all of those institutions. When you move into the private sector, that's when transferability, if you will, becomes a little bit murkier. It's up to that institution if they'll accept that credit. So to answer your question, I think if you're staying within the state institutions, you're going to be fine. If you are going outside of the state institutions or moving between like an Akron and a John Carroll, that's where you would want to check with John Carroll to see what it is that they're offering,
Okay.
how they'll accept the credit, I should say. Did
Okay,
wanna
thank you.
add anything?
You
Okay.
answered me.
Okay.
I can give a for example if somebody's curious. Like, I put it in one of the emails. Most of our CCP students are seniors. I think I have 50-some seniors doing CCP right now, and it's because of the course offerings that we have here at Springfield High School. We have English Composition 1 and 2 taught by Kelly Humanansky, so sometimes juniors take that, but seniors do as well. We have 2 different sciences that are taught, but they're specifically for seniors. One of the sciences is through Stark State, and it's a life science, so it's medical terminology 1 semester, anatomy and physiology the 2nd semester. Those are for seniors just because of the course, we go physical science, biology, chemistry, physics, you know what I mean? So because of the way things sequence, it just falls into senior year. Same thing with Kent State, we have geology courses that kids really like, Earth and Life Through Time, and how the Earth works. Those are also, so if a student wants to go life science, they have that route through Stark State, versus if they wanted to go earth science, they have that route through Kent State. We do have other online sciences through the University of Akron that students could take, like earth science or oceans, or there's other sciences that some kids do take or they go on campus. We also have math classes that are taught in person, and they're typically for seniors because of the sequential order of our maths. Lori Smith taught Intro to Statistics this year. In the past, she has taught College Algebra for Calculus Plus, but you've got to place into those classes. It's harder to place into the math classes. What else? In our distance learning lab, we have Intro to Psychology is very popular. It's a very hard class, but it's very popular. Intro to Economics. The required 11th grade government class is taught in our distance learning lab if it fits into your schedule. For 3 years, I think David Bosco has taught government and politics, but he's debating if he's going to teach that next year. It's up in the air. So I don't want to promise you that opportunity with Mr. Bosco right now. For sure, it's offered in the distance learning lab, but that's 5th period. If you're a band student, you can't do both. Band is offered 5th period. So you'll have to make that choice possibly. But most of our students are seniors. Second to that would be juniors. I think I have 4 or 5 sophomores, but that's it. I've had a freshman over the years here and there. They typically regret it. I hate to tell you that, but they do. They feel like it was just too much too fast, and then it hurts their high school grade point average if they don't do well. But it's totally up to both of my kids did CCP. They got a lot of free college, got finished with college faster. It's great. I'm an advocate of it, but I see lots of success for the most part, I think. We have a lot of success, but I'm just going to tell you, I had to put 4 students on probation after fall semester. I didn't do it, they did it, but I had to pass out the paperwork and collect it. So,
Well, and I think that's something important if I could just add to, not only will those grades follow you through high school, they will also follow you through college. So if you are looking to go to medical school, dental school, veterinary school, anything like that, those CCP grades, they're gonna look at those long term. So it's just something to keep in mind, especially as you're selecting your courses. Some students will say, well, I want to do medical school, so I want to go straight into a biology class. And I'm like, oh, maybe we should start a little bit, with something that's maybe not quite so intense for you. So I think that that's a really great point, is to kind of think about the long-term implications of the coursework too, and just making sure that you're picking things that you feel at least somewhat comfortable with the subject material.
right, we have advanced chemistry here, we have physics, and then like we said, we have those 2 upper level sciences in-house, like taught by teachers here. What other questions do you guys have? Are you curious what schedules will look like? Hold on. I'm going to pass this on to JB. Can you pass that down, please?
So a question that I have is like the credits that I would get from CCP through either Akron or Kent State, would they be possible to transfer to out-of-state land-grant universities like LSU or Arkansas?
Yeah, yep. So it really varies. So as I said during the presentation, I would highly recommend that you reach out to those universities at the same time as you're applying to participate in CCP. I've seen it all. Typically out of state, the more flexible universities still tend to be the state or public universities, even out of state. Where I've seen students unfortunately receive no credits for transfer are typically the private institutions and the very highly selective private institutions. So it's been several years ago, we've had students go to Ivy League schools, and I know a student went on to Harvard and they said, we're not going to accept your credits. They did allow it for some placement so that the student potentially could maybe take a next higher level class, but they didn't give them course for course allowing that credit to transfer. So I don't know if you've seen similar.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Rittenauer and I are currently working through the grade levels. I've been presenting to 10th graders and 11th graders for next year already. So, and she'll be going into classrooms for the 8th grade going into 9th and 9th grade going into 10th. So, reach out to your students. Our plan is to have scheduling completed by spring break, I think, which gives us some time, but there's a lot going on between now and then. So reach out to Ms. Rittenauer, reach out to me. I'm Melinda Weekland. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time, so I can answer any questions. But I'm glad to have you here. Appreciate you. Like I said, use this flow chart. Have the student use this flow chart. It's my first time using one like this. I hopefully didn't screw it up, but I think if you go step by step, you should be good. All right? Thank you for coming, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Yes. You too, yeah.
Honestly, you do a great job at just being very inclusive. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. I don't know. Kristen has probably told you. So Kristen was a grad student. Listen, years ago, so I've known Kristen for years, and then more recently have gotten to know Donald from the state conference and also.
They still like
So
students
it's
get
literally
into
so
like the
quickly. And what
center
I'm maybe you can
games
still
and
take
stuff.
fire on your own. Most ways that you can. So I just like, yep, yep. Yeah, if you shoot me an email, I'll get you to the right people. I'm not the right people, but I do know who are. So I'd be happy to connect you. Yeah, sounds great. I'll look for it tomorrow. What's your name? Johanna and Stacey. All right, Heather. I'll look for it. You're welcome. Have a good one.
She will be looking to come back to Akron to do her PhD. Yeah, yeah, she was looking, because she's actually down at Ohio State, but she's just, she was joking. It's a dangerous campus. But she was looking to come back up. She was, well, both Kent State and Akron both have her PhD program. She loved Akron. She did some, but then she was on campus her junior year and her senior year. She was Lillian Meyer. Okay, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
What's she doing at Ohio State?
She's neuroscience major right now. She is working along with Dr. Plant. She will be published actually this in March, and they're doing a conference. Yeah, they're doing neuro or stem cell generation, like with mice that like stemming spinal cord to like regenerate. So she's actually got taught a couple weeks ago how to start doing those surgeries on the mice. Yeah, she did the surgery. They were very impressed with her. But, yeah, she, with all those credits, and she was able to take credits towards her major already, the anatomy classes. Just because of the policy, you know, it's like, picky with what classes will transfer. She was very lucky.
I think that takes too much effort. I can see them complaining too. I don't know.
It's crazy. Oh, she got into Ohio State.
You know that
She got it. She didn't have to do her ACT score. Now they're requiring that again.
So he just, because you know, he either, so I think he doesn't